feels like 18 months since we have had an opportunity to talk about a Dallas Cowboys football game as opposed to just Dallas Cowboys football chatter. And I am all here for it. I am Fort Worth Star-Telegram columnist Mac Engel here for another edition of Cowboys Overtime. And that beautiful person on the other side of the screen is in California, soaking up the hellacious heat. He is Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr. Clarence, where are you these days?
Well, I'm at the Westin in LA in my upgraded junior suite, one bedroom suite, got a bar, and, everything here, just chilling, getting ready to drive to Costa Mesa, Irvine, California for the Cowboys practices against the Chargers the next 2 days, but just enjoying this Cali weather.
Well, you got a lot to look forward to, Clarence. I want to give you a little bit of a weather forecast before you come back home to Dallas-Fort Worth. I saw this in the forecast, and I'm really not kidding. Like a week from Tuesday, I think it's supposed to be like 82 degrees, like a high of 82.
Wow.
Yeah. Doesn't mean that they're right, and it doesn't mean I believe it, but I did see it in the extended forecast. So by the time you get home, and I do mean this sincerely, it should be like 95. Like the last few days, it's been like 95 degrees, and it really feels like it's a cold front here. That's how miserable this summer has been.
Well, I tell you what, for the Cowboys practice, the Cowboys are concluding their practice in Oxnard. They're staying in Oxnard this morning with a walkthrough, and they're busing to Irvine, where they will stay in a hotel and practice with the Chargers, who train in Costa Mesa, which is about 2.5 hours from Oxnard to Irvine. But the highest practice temperature they've had, the highest day in Oxnard was 75. I just wondered that.
Find the finger I'm thinking of.
Okay. Your pointer. I'm thinking of your pointer. You're going to point at me.
I'm a big point guy. I'm a weather guy. Right. The weather coming into the north. It's going to push through. It's going to sit down.
There you go.
Okay. So let's talk about a Dallas Cowboys game. Unfortunately, the Dallas Cowboys game on Saturday night in Denver against the Broncos in a fake game was almost as ugly as the last time we saw Dallas Cowboys play a game, which was the playoff loss to the San Francisco 49ers back in January. Both of these were horrible. Let's start off with the most obvious point and the most consistent thing under Mike McCarthy in the last couple of seasons, which is an ungodly amount of penalties. The penalty parade for the Dallas Cowboys continues. They had 17 penalties on Saturday night against Denver in a preseason game. Now, I understand, Clarence, it's a preseason game, big deals. Most of these guys aren't going to make the team. And if they do, they'll be bottom of the roster, practice squad guys. First game is usually a mess. That was a mess. But if you watch the Cowboys under Mike McCarthy the last year or so, this is not new. I've got to think, Clarence, this is more troubling than almost anything else that happened on Saturday night in Denver.
Well, it should be. My problem is that Mike McCarthy was kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth. Yes, penalties are a problem, but it's the first game. Well, it can't be both.
Right.
You either you care about penalties, and it don't matter if it's the first game or the last game, especially when that's been your identity. The last time we saw you, you're a penalty-filled mess. The first time we see you this year, you're a penalty-filled mess. You have to change the narrative. You talked all off season about focusing on penalties, emphasizing penalties. We open training camp with penalties. We're going to get rid of penalties. And the first time out, you have 17 penalties. No team in the league has had that many penalties since 2019. No team in the league. Every team had their first game this past weekend. Nobody had double-digit penalties. Only the Cowboys. And it wasn't just, that's 17. It's ridiculous. They had 9 in the first half. So, yeah, it wasn't the starters, but the problem with the Cowboys, it doesn't matter if the starters, the backups, new guys, rookies, a free agent, Dante Fowler, who wasn't even here last year, comes in and gets a personal foul penalty to take. That's what you guys do. That's who you are. And until further notice, that's your identity.
Couldn't have said it any better. The only question now is Mike McCarthy just a bad coach?
I don't know. I know the Cowboys since he took over, the Cowboys have led the league in penalties, had the most penalties in the league the past, since his tenure in Dallas. They weren't like this under Jason Garrett. Okay, they were not among the league leaders in penalties under Jason Garrett. Okay, Mr. Clapper. Everybody used to get him clapping. The Clapper did not have a penalty-riddled team.
Bill Parcells used to always love to say, hey, I don't coach penalties because no one was better at deflecting criticism and not taking the blame better than Bill. But in my estimation, I've always thought if you're a highly penalized team, that is a reflection of whatever is going on during practice and during preparation for the game. I'm sorry, Clarence. It's ultimately on the players. It is. But whatever they're doing during the week and in those meetings, something is not getting through because this is embarrassing and it's pathetic.
And it's not a conspiracy. A lot of fans will say the league is after Jerry. The league is after Jerry. The league is just doing this to the Cowboys.
No,
why would the league want the Cowboys to fail? They got them on TV more than anybody, and they've never won nothing since 1995. Why would they, why would the league want their cash cow to fail?
I don't know. I hear that one all the time, and I hear which crew. And I understand, in professional sports, everything is scouted, everything is evaluated and measured, and homework on officials and crews. And baseball goes the same way. What's this guy strike zone in the NBA? What's this guy call in the NFL? It's no different. It's the same thing. What's this guy's behavior? What are his tendencies? But I'm sorry, this is not just a couple of guys who have quick trigger fingers to throw a penalty flag. This isn't just a couple. This is all of them when they call Cowboys games because clearly they're committing a hell of a lot of penalties.
I mean, it was the first game out for Denver. They had 8. Cowboys had 17.
7.5 or 8 always seemed 6 to 8 seemed like an acceptable number to me. Anything over that, certainly into double digits, something has gone stupidly wrong. And I'm sorry, until they change otherwise, you nailed it. This is their identity. They're a stupid team. You can't have 17 damn penalties in a preseason game and just think, well, it's the crew. No, it's not. Something of this is on you, and something that you're doing during the week is wrong.
Plain and simple.
All right, let's go on to the next one. This is something that I chose to weigh in on, and that is watching the Dallas Cowboys backup quarterbacks play in a preseason game. I'm over it because we have seen it time and time again, and clearly the Cowboys backups that they bring in are not developing, have hit their ceiling, and they cannot play. The play of Cooper Rush in the preseason game on Saturday night in Denver looked no different than any other preseason game he's played in for a long time, which is he ain't got it. And how Ben DiNucci still has a job under Mike McCarthy is as mysterious as the crop circles in South America. I don't get it.
He's from
Pittsburgh. Explain to me how either of these two guys is the answer in case Dak Prescott gets hurt during the regular season.
Did you like that regular season win? Did you like that win over the Vikings? Did you like that win over
I know it. That's like the worst thing that could have happened is that
Cooper Rush leading the Cowboys to victory against the Vikings last year. Comeback victory. Touchdown pass to Amari Cooper. Where's Amari Cooper? Touchdown pass to Amari Cooper against the Vikings on the road. You cannot take that away from him in his first ever start. Okay, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Okay,
I may have referenced it, and I don't think anybody was as surprised by that win and that performance any more than Cooper Rush. And I got to say this: I got a lot of heat because I really went after both of these guys. I give Cooper Rush a lot of credit. It's a hard thing what he's done. Undrafted guy, and he's stuck in the NFL for 4+ years, making 4+ seasons worth of NFL checks. He's made it to NFL pension. Credit to that guy. Also, when we watch those games, Clarence, unless my eyes are totally wrong, neither one of these guys can play. Is there any chance the Cowboys are going to go with somebody else behind Dak Prescott at any point in the season? Just be like, dude, these guys can't play because it's obvious they can't.
Well, first of all, Ben DiNucci is not an option. He's here. That's a brother-in-law thing with Mike McCarthy. He's from Pittsburgh kid. Mike McCarthy is actually brother coach in junior high school. That, he was the junior high basketball coach. He was on practice squad last year. Should be his last run. He is the one who has those cool Dallas hats with the backwards Dallas that Dak's been wearing. He's gonna make a lot of money with those hats. Okay, he already got a next career.
That's his future. That's his future in the NFL as a hat maker.
Yes, he got a nice little old thing going with the hat company. But no, Will Greer is the guy who's been the best backup in training camp. Former Florida guy who played at West Virginia. He actually played was recruited by Doug Nussmeier when he was at Florida, the Florida OC before he got fired. And he's here. Nussmeier's the Cowboys quarterbacks coach. He didn't play against the Broncos because of hamstring injury. The Cowboys are hoping to get him on the field and play this week. He's played with more moxie. He's been more aggressive in training camp. You'll see him push the ball down the field and do different things that Cooper Rush doesn't do. It doesn't really have the arm to do. He's the guy who's the favorite right now to be the backup quarterback. Will Greer.
So
not that Will Greer's going to lead you into Super Bowls or anything, but he should be the guy over what your Cooper Rush and what you're talking about here.
Well, at this point, I think with a backup, if you're going to go with a younger guy, you just want to see a guy who's kind of ascending before he hits the ceiling. And maybe not. Look at Tony Romo. Tony Romo was the backup who just kept kind of getting better, and he didn't hit his ceiling until he was a starter. And he was a hell of a good pro for a long time. But I look at these backups, and, like you said, Will Greer, I saw him play in college, he's a decent college player. But you never know. If you put him in the right situation with the right guy, he might just keep ascending.
You put him in the right situation, he can win a game against Minnesota.
There you go. Let's move on to another position that bailed out the Dallas Cowboys quarterback in that Minnesota game last season, and that is wide receiver, which you and I have bemoaned about its state many times here on Cowboys Overtime. It's CeeDee Lamb's show. Michael Gallup is hurt. Amari Cooper is in Cleveland. So now we have nicknamed the Dallas Cowboys wide receivers until otherwise noted and otherwise told differently. It's CeeDee and the maybes. So, Clarence, from what you've seen, I know there was a guy or two who caught your eye in training camp. From what you've seen so far in camp and even in that game in Denver, that mess in Denver, do you like what you see, or is it a disaster?
Well, I mean, when guys come out of nowhere, you are interested and it intrigues you and you like what you see from them. But the bigger picture, this receiving core is not good. I mean, when you compare what they had last year, you compare to other receiving cores in the league. Again, it's CeeDee and some maybe you're projecting. Dennis Houston, the undrafted free from Western Illinois, has been the best rookie receiver on the team. That means that Jalen Tolbert, the third-round pick from South Alabama, the Cowboys have been touting and targeting to come in and be an immediate impact player, has not really been that good. He had a huge drop in the practice against the Broncos, had a drop in the game of the day. They're going to try to take some things off his plate to give him some confidence. But this is a Cowboys team that lost Amari Cooper, lost Cedric Wilson. They lost James Washington, week into camp. And James Washington was that was a tryout thing anyway. He was a bust coming out of Pittsburgh. Michael Gallup, everybody can wait till Michael Gallup is back. The guy has a torn ACL. You're not back in yourself until a full year after the ACL injury. He may be back at some point in September, maybe October, but he won't be Michael Gallup, the Michael Gallup the Cowboys know and love until late January, if not next year.
Wow. Okay, wait a minute, real quick, because I agree with everything you just said about that. But the one thing about Michael Gallup, I thought even if he comes back, let's say he comes back, week 3? Is there any chance he comes back week 3?
Could be. Now, late September, maybe early October, yes.
Okay, so week 3. And I thought the earliest we would see the Michael Gallup that the Cowboys signed to an extension, right? Not the one who got hurt, but the one they signed to an extension. I thought the earliest we would see him is by week 8 or 9, that he would have caught up by then. Are you telling me you don't even think that's going to happen until 2023?
I just know that it's tough coming back off ACLs, and you're not yourself. You're not your comfortable self. Most people say until the year following the surgery, even if you say it'll be a few months, it'll be a few weeks, the season may be over by then, okay? My point is that the urgency is now.
No, the reason why
you look at that schedule and the teams have early in the season, they got Cincinnati early, they got Tampa Bay early, they got the Rams early. I mean, some of their tougher games are early in the season. They need help now, not later in the season.
Well, I think the reason why I was optimistic that he might be okay by week 8, and I realized the 1 year thing is usually the good standard length of time for a guy to come back from an ACL. But I thought, well, Joe Burrow came back pretty quick from his ACL. Adrian Peterson was a freak. And I know Adrian Peterson is an outlier of outlier.
He's an outlier.
He was incredible what he did when he came back from his ACL. And I thought maybe he could beat that year timeline by a few months. And that's why I thought it. But are you just leaning more conservative ideas that?
Well, I'm just saying that, again, to me, the urgency is now. And whenever he comes back, I'm just saying that when he comes back in October or September, he won't be the explosive Michael Gallup that they're looking for, that they need to go with CeeDee Lamb. And so it'll still be CeeDee and some maybes. And the Cowboys need to address this position with a veteran before the start of the season. They're going to either have to trade for somebody, sign somebody off the waiver wire that gets cut, or sign somebody off the street, whether it's a T.Y. Hilton, Emmanuel Sanders. I don't know if they're going to go with Cole Beasley because I don't think they need a slot guy, but he's a veteran. But guys like that, they have to do something to address this wide receiver position.
So in terms of your panic level about the Cowboys receivers position, you and I were both, I don't know, 8.5 out of 10. Is it a higher or lower, panic-wise, that now that you've seen the play game and you've seen them several weeks in camp?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's higher. Wow. You lose James Washington. That was part of your plan. You lose James Washington, and again, you're counting on guys who've never done it before. I mean, Noah Brown has been your best receiver in camp, not named CeeDee Lamb, and he's been there since 2016, and has caught no touchdown pass from Dak Prescott. And I remember last year, I was like, don't throw it to Noah on third down because he's not going to come up with it. He's had a good camp, but until he's shown it in the game, you can't trust that. And then you have, some rookie and unproven guys who've never done it before.
Yeah, that's pretty awful. Okay, let's go over to the last topic we're going to talk about here on Cowboys Overtime this week, and that is the state of the starters. Increasingly, NFL teams don't want their starters to play in preseason games at all. It used to be they played a full game, then it was a game and a half. They've just, over the years, they just have decreased the workload of starters in preseason games for all the obvious reasons. They just don't want these guys to get hurt until the games count. Given what and Dak hasn't played in a preseason game. He didn't play Saturday night. He didn't play at all last season in the preseason because of his sore shoulder. Came out against Tampa in week 1 and was great. He had a phenomenal game. The Cowboys probably should have won it. But if you look at everything take anything into consideration, do the Cowboys need their starters to play a half in the preseason, or do you think they're just going to sit these guys out until week 1?
Yeah, I don't know. Need is the issue. I don't know if they need to. I think that they may be inclined to. I think there's some discussion about doing that in the week 3 game, the final preseason game against Seattle on August 26th. But the unique thing is that they have 2 joint practices or joint practice with 2 different teams. They did it with Denver. They're doing this week against the Chargers. And the first team is going to get the bulk of the snaps. Dak got so many snaps last week against Denver, more than he would have gotten any preseason game, all 3 preseason games combined in past years. I mean, he got a lot of work. It's going to be the same thing against the Chargers this week. They're going to get a lot of just not hitting the quarterback. But they're going to get a lot of live work with the starters against the first team in game situations and different things rather than trotting the guy out. I mean, some of the teams that played the starters this past week, they played 1 series and they sat down. How does that help you?
Doesn't.
And so you can say, well, the 3rd preseason game in dress rehearsal, like play a first half. Well, that's better than playing 1 series or 2 series in 1 quarter, really not getting a lot of work and certainly a lot of situational work, that you can get in these practices, you can set up in these practices. So that is the plan. We will see how it goes. Certainly it worked well for Dak last year, not to have to play in the preseason. Zeke hasn't played in the preseason for a few years. That may be the smart way to go for the Cowboys going forward.
I think it's going to be the trend for every NFL team in August now. I think the preseason is basically turned into weeks 1 through 4 of the regular season. That's where the real work gets done. That's where they work kinks out, and that's where their timing gets back. Training camp is all about kind of getting into shape and basically not getting hurt and allowing 5 to 8 guys compete for the bottom of the roster. Last question, real quick. How many times have you been to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles in Southern California?
Have not gone yet. I will go before I leave. I got a few more days. Have not gone yet. We've been up
at all.
Have not gone yet. I've been in Oxnard.
Normally you land.
Yes, I did not land. I did not land and go. I went straight to Oxnard. So this time I'll do it before I leave.
Disappointed. All right. Well, enjoy.
I got 3 more days here in LA. I got time.
That's 6 meals. That's 6 meals if you do it right. Enjoy the weather. It was good catching up. Safe travels back. And the next time the Cowboys play, we're going to set the over-under at penalties at 12.5. Over or under? Over 12.5 or under?
Over.
Yeah, I think you're right. See you next time on Cowboys Overtime. For all you Cowboys coverage you need, check us out on StarTelegram.com. See you, Clarence.